City under-18s, the penultimate game of Manchester, of Brentford's B-team campaign. It's a beautiful evening.
It certainly is.
Chris Deacon alongside.
Jim can hear us now, it's all fine.
So Brentford, Manchester City under-18s. This is the penultimate fixture of Brentford B's season. Lars Friis will be taking them up to wherever it is that Manchester City play. Is it AFC Fylde, that
no,
place?
it's called the Etihad Campus.
The Etihad Campus, I should know that. Should have done my homework. One more game, which is at the weekend, and then Lars has one more week in situ before he goes off to pastures new, back to Denmark, I understand. Just had a little chat with him, and because I'm really cheesy, of course, I gave him a box of Jaffa cakes.
Amazing.
Of course I did.
Of course you did.
Of course I did, because I can get away with it, you see. Not a lot of people could, but I thought, I don't know whether he understood, but you might need to explain to him why the significance of a box of Jaffa cakes. So Brentford line up with Patrick Gunnarsson in goal, Jarvis Idebor, Jayden Onan, Johnny Mitchell, the Scotsman, Oksanen, Cole da Silva, Hamar, Ali Coote, who I assume will be the skipper, Zamburek, Gustav Morgensen, David Titov. The substitutes for Brentford: Anderson, Joe Hardy, the goal scorer, Henrik Johansson. How are we pronouncing number 15, Chris?
So, Matti,
Yeah.
and then Majka.
Say that again. Matti.
Majka.
Oh, Majka, so a hard J. And Jayden Brissett. So Gunnarsson, Idebor, Onan, Mitchell, Oksanen, Da Silva, Hamar, Coote, Zamburek, Morgensen, Titov. Manchester City under-18s, so two very young sides. Scott, Jeremy Frimpong, Rowan McDonald, please tell me they call him Ronald in the dressing room, please. Cameron Humphreys, Tyreke Wilson, Pozzola Rosa, number 6, Taylor Richards, Tommy Doyle, number 8, Gonzalez, Bernabe, Ogunbi. And the substitutes for Manchester City under-18s: Thomas, Amankwa, Ogbita, Simmons, Aziz and Kelly. Your referee, Mr. Matthew Downey, assisted by Sonny Gill and Jack O'Heen. And the fourth official is Lisa Ben. Peter Gillam is here. Little smattering of punters. Free entry tonight to Griffin Park if you're local. Slightly earlier kick-off than your normal 7:45. We kick off in a couple of minutes. So a smattering of punters have joined us. A fine evening, a little bit of a chill in the air. And Lars is watching from the up on high to our left. Maybe we'll grab a word from him in a minute. His assessment of the game, perhaps. So Lars is with us. Very nice man. You know, genuinely nice man. Thomas Frank, I've really enjoyed speaking to him over the course of the season for the BBC, because he is not only a charming man but also very blunt. You know, when things go wrong, Thomas will be blunt on and off air. When things go right, he's very modest. He's a man who understands the English game and the English sense of humour, and yeah, he's been really charming. So have you enjoyed working with Lars, Chris Deacon, as you look after the B team from a PR point of view?
Yeah, Lars is a great guy. In terms of B team head coaches, we've been quite lucky in a way. I think when it started with Fleming Pedersen, he was someone who understood the ideals of the club, wanted to talk a lot about it, and then obviously Kevin O'Connor, who's been a mainstay at the club for a very long time, knew exactly what he was talking about, and now Lars, who's been a coach at the club before he became the B team.
Yeah, he's done 3 jobs.
He's done 3
this season.
jobs.
Yeah.
Including assistant to Thomas at one point, so he knows exactly what it's on about, and I think that's so far worked really, really well, and it'll be interesting to see who steps into that role next season.
Well, there's been a new head of recruitment who's been added to the team today. Lee Dykes, formerly of Bury, the Shakers, who's did very well under very difficult circumstances to get promoted this season. So I'll be very interested to see what the lad from Hull brings to the party. And it's Brentford who get us off and underway, playing as we watch from left to right in the red and white stripes. Manchester City in their traditional sky blue and navy socks. We'll split the defence immediately, and it's Ogunbi who's being forced wide though, fortunately, by Johnny Mitchell, who's done really well to lean in there. Perhaps Ogunbi took a little bit too much time, perhaps. Back to keeper Tom Scott it goes. I spoke to Lars before the game. He said the great thing about playing a Manchester City side is that you know what you're up against. You know the system and the style. Tonight we play a style of football, meaning the opposition, which is an interesting point of view. So not so much about the players, but about the way they set up, just like they do the first team. And you're going to be able to hear Lars shouting. I think to the back post it goes, and it's nodded clear. An emergency nod clear for the first corner of the evening. And it goes to Brentford. Calder Silva lurks at the back. Everybody else, apart from keeper Gunnarsson, in and around the 18-yard box. Looks as though we're coming from deep here. Corner, left-footed, an in-swinger, heads go up. And it's a nod to safety to that far side from Cameron Humphreys, first up. Calder Silva, who we've seen at left back and left wing, in a further forward position by the looks of things, Chris.
Yeah, he's certainly capable of it. He's got the speed to go anywhere on this field, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, he's a very similar player to Rico Henry. Onan across the back line to Mitchell. Allowed to gamble forward. And he's gone through Gonzalez quite easily there. This is Calder Silva. Nice bit of one-touch play from Brentford. Oh, but a loose one down the channel from Onan. One possession picked up by City. Back to Scott. Billy Reeves and Chris Deacon keeping you company this evening. We kicked off at 7:30. No score as yet. One chance for Manchester City. The break from Ogunbi in the first seconds. That's won by Zamburek. So 6 B-teamers playing for the first team this season. Chris, good for club propaganda.
Absolutely, it might be 7, right? After Yako on...
Oh, right, is it 7 after?
I think it might be 7 after Yako on Sunday.
All right,
but yeah, certainly a massive turnover this season.
Oh, slip at the back from Frimpong, allowing Da Silva in. Manchester City's goal survives. Just really, it made Frimpong look a bit daft there, but that was actually a decent ball.
Not bad
Square.
at all. I think the interesting thing with corners and set pieces is you look at this Manchester City side, the only real tall one in there is their number 4, Cameron Humphreys. So I think they fancy themselves a bit here.
Yeah, coming in from late again. In swinger. Back post it goes. Doesn't beat the first man this time though. Brentford tidy up. Here's Da Silva. First time ball. Fantastic ball out to the right hand side to Oksanen. Goes early, it's hanging up in the air. Man City 1 offside, they're not going to get it. Oh, free kick all day long, I think. Good turn from Ali Coote. Who's the free kick specialist? Chris Deacon?
I think you're looking at him, Calder Silva.
Right, left foot.
Scored exactly the same angle, exactly the same placement here in Italy when we went and played RB Salzburg. So I reckon this could be whipped top left corner. That's exactly where he put it last time. 2
good feet, because he's, I think he'd be predominantly left-footed playing on the left, but he's going right foot here. Calder Silva. Oh, top bins. Absolutely gorgeous. Brentford 1, Manchester City 0.
There it is. You knew exactly what he was going to do. He's so adept at those just set pieces, easily enough for him to just curl it over the wall. Quite a small wall, but still did the job, and the keeper had absolutely no chance there.
We had absolutely the perfect view of that up here, and sometimes you don't need to hit them at pace. Postage stamp, as they say. Oh, it looks as though last time I was up here we had a goal fest against Uwe Rosler's Malmö. We have our first goal after 4 minutes. Bees 1, City 0. Mitchell to Onan, who's spent a lot of time in the opposition's half thus far. It's all Brentford at the moment. Zamburek allowed to turn and come forward, and that is a corner. Nice to see Matthew Downey out there, regular here, of course. Again, it looks a little, you're right, totally right, Deeks, it looks very ominous, doesn't it, when the likes of Jarvis Idabor are in there. The bus cue this time, hit flat, straight against Frimpong, so we're going to have another go. 1-0 Brentford lead. This time it is hit a pace. That went slightly wrong that time. Little nudge in the back from Ali Koot. A professional foul, as we used to call it in ye olden times.
Yeah, interestingly, some of the Manchester City staff asking the fourth official, is that not a yellow card? I can understand it's about 6 minutes into the game, but it's cynical.
No, a yellow card's a yellow card. Doesn't matter what time of the game it is, but yeah, perhaps because it's a friendly, but... And perhaps no danger to the player, as Ali Koot just leant in to put him off balance, I guess. First chance for City to play. No, it isn't, because Mitchell's there a long way forward, encouraging his team forward. It's unlucky for Morganson. But he's going to continue to develop, looking for support. But spins out of play. Perhaps the cavalry in the shape of David Titoff not there in time. How's Lars doing, Deeks? He looks pretty calm. He's got a notebook. It's an A5 notebook. Don't know why that should be significant.
Got a lot of notes to write.
Yeah, the old, not really too big. He doesn't want it to be the Brendan Rodgers little one. Don't like the Brendan Rodgers little one. Doesn't fill me with any confidence at all.
Or the Louis van Gaal binder.
Oh God, the binder. Goodness me. They used to be given to people of my father's age as a 21st birthday present, and I think he is of my father's generation, so... I think referee Mr. Downey tried to let that go, but no advantage was forthcoming. As we head towards the twilight. Brentford play it short. Oh dear. Oksana runs into trouble. Perhaps this is a chance for City to attack Brentford's back line for the first time since the opening seconds. A City style, they patiently keep the ball. It was really great to see on Saturday, especially second half, with Brentford just completely wearing Preston down with some of this play. But no, City not allowed the incursion. Unlucky. Read by the keeper. Round of applause for the run and movement from Morganson. Doesn't quite come off. Again, great defending from Brentford. Onan and Mitchell are just not allowing anything through at all presently. And Patrick Gunnarsson bangs it clear. Fantastic photograph, I think it's one of Farnham's, of Jan Barbet hugging Gunnarsson as the final whistle went at Borough. That's a lovely photograph, that is. Just a case of whether or not it's one of 3 away wins or one of 2 away wins, depending on your point of view. Billy Reeves and Chris Deacon with you at Griffin Park this evening. Just coming up to the 10th minute. Brentford lead 1-0 from Cole de Silva's delightful free kick from just outside the D. No doubt you'll be able to see that again. How would one be able to see that again via Brentford's social media channels, Chris, later on?
This game?
Yeah, well, that goal particularly.
Oh, that goal particularly. Well, yeah, we'll be bringing that to you on Twitter. We'll also have full match highlights afterwards on YouTube, as per usual.
Good man. No rest for the PR team, presumably, then, in the summer?
Not at all.
None at all.
Footballers are long gone on summer holidays and we're still in TW5.
Yeah, totally. Well, there'll be a lot of information to impart, won't there?
Absolutely.
Perhaps not a million signings. I don't get the feeling we've already had the 5 out of contracts that have been announced off. We shall see. Look out for Mr. Benham's clues. It was high on Bernabei. It's a free kick in a very dangerous position. Central, perhaps. Oh, lovely back heel from Matty Downey there. The City get on with it. Not setting for a dead ball, as it were. Just want to get on with it.
And interesting enough, you talk about players who'll be needed in by the transfer, and we've got 2 players in the Brentford backline that are usually midfielders, in Jayden Nolan and Johnny Mitchell. So,
yeah.
I can imagine there'll be a few defensive recruits.
Yeah, and of course there'll be B team. Perhaps we'll talk about that in a minute, because there'll be B team players that will be coming up to the end of their contracts as well. Calder Silva read that. Oh, unlucky. There'll be B team ins and outs as well. It runs the same way, doesn't it? I mean, some of them are bought for a fee. It runs the same way, but on a smaller scale, I guess. There'll be B team players going and coming in. Of course, a change of rule, a change of law next season about goal kicks, isn't there? I was reading today that you don't need to. The ball doesn't need to leave the 18-yard box next season. So presumably the opposition have to be 10 yards away from it. But teams that play out from the back, that's going to be very interesting. That clever little turn from Bernabei. He's probably the City player that's seen most of the ball so far. There's a little bit of a call of a second ball from Lars Friis away to our left, but the break is on because Brentford don't win it. Ogunbi goes early this time, looking for the run of Gonzalez, the centre forward, but it's a little too early perhaps. Call from Mitchell. That's the keeper, Gunnarsson. No problems whatsoever. Ice running through his veins. You can see how much pressure that Ali Coote is putting on his man there, and that's what the round of applause is for. Because Brentford have won possession back against the odds somewhat there. Good pressure from Ali Coote, the skipper. Oh dear, and then a little bit of a hesitation from Calder Silva. Not enough room to work in, really. 1-0 Bees, 13 gone. Man City have not really worried Gunnarsson thus far. Manchester City under 18, so 2 very young sides. So what are we talking about age-wise then, Chris, amongst the Brentford team? Because I wondered if it would be as it was an under-18 team they were playing rather than the under-23s, that would make a difference for Lars Friis or make a difference for Man City. What sort of ages are we looking at amongst the Brentford B boys out there at the moment?
I don't think it'll make too much of a difference. I'd say we'd have probably about an average age of about 19.
Okay.
I think at the moment, certainly with squad selection, it's more of a case of, rather than injury, it's more Thomas Frank has nicked half of them, so...
Oh, cool from Gunnarsson. He read that and he knew exactly what he was doing there. But it's City who win it in the left half position. Goodness me, they're just not being allowed any space or time at all. I remember speaking to Kevin O'Connor about that a little while back, saying as soon as we, especially away from home, when we play an academy side or a young side, we get stuck in early, make sure that they know that we're here for a competitive game, that it's not going to be a friendly in that sense. And you can see that Brentford are really winning those little mini battles at the moment, Chris Deacon.
I think you see it more as well in foreign countries, when you've got a team who don't necessarily know what Brentford's about, and they come there and play football, and suddenly they're a game on and they're 1-0 down, and they think, oh, actually, hang on, we could probably do with winning this game, and it really heats up. And there's been some incredible games over the last few years, thinking back to the one we played in Portugal, the one we played against Milan. AC Milan didn't take us seriously, went 3-0 down, and suddenly it was 3-3 by half time, and we was all over the place and scored one at the last minute. So there's been some good stuff.
Oh, unlucky. Well, Brentford pretty much in control. That's the Manchester City under-18 coach you can hear issuing some instructions, but Oksanen has pretty much got the game by the scruff of the neck at the moment, pulling the strings, as they used to say in the last decade.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's why he probably got a few minutes at the end of Sunday as well. He's one of those players, he's Finland's, Finland named him the most promising male player for last season, so he's certainly got a lot ahead of him.
Yeah, City, nowhere to go. They're going to have to go over the top, but that's Gunnarsson's all day long. Kind of spun into his gloves quite comfortably there as we reach the quarter-hour mark. Bees 1-0 to the good. Cole de Silva's 4-minute free kick. Bit of an uncomfortable one over the top this time, but it's one. And Oksanen is after it early. Zamburek got support right-hand side from Titov, but gets the cross all wrong. And that's comfortable for the keeper, Tom Scott. Brentford moving it quickly, though, from one side to the other, but here's a chance for a City break, as it were. Doyle. And Brentford have got their shape back pretty quickly there. That's been the key, really, when City have been looking as though they're going to cause some damage on transition. Brentford getting their shape back really, really quickly and impressively. And again, putting those challenges in. A little bit over-aggressive this time, though, says referee Mr. Downey. And again, City not setting for one into the box at all. We've not done it once. Even that one that was in the final third. Still, I think they know what they're doing.
You'd think so.
As a club, generally. One over the top, route one. Oh, it's really well taken down by Ogbani. But it comes to naught.
Offside.
As he was offside in the early phase of that. Good disciplined defending. De Silva losing out this time to Frimpong, enjoying that little battle over there. City goalkeeper Tom Scott's seen a lot of the ball at his feet. Here comes the press. But he's comfortable, left foot. Not going anywhere though, is it? Just Brentford winning the midfield battle presently. Oh, commentator's cursed. Titov loses it cheaply. And Frederick Hamar never going to get there. That stuck out a foot, and the foot was there to go over. That might have been a booking in an A game, perhaps. Down the right-hand side, he's going to keep it in by the looks of things. Yep. But being double-teamed, back to Frimpong it goes. Well, City being forced back, allowing Brentford to come out and press. Wilson. Left-hand side is Ogunbi. Oh, it's a decent cross in, back post, but not kept in. I think the target was Gonzalez, the number 9. There's a decent cross in. Gunnarsson elected to stay on his line. but the danger has passed. I think Lars is down on the in the technical area now. He spent some time up in the stands, as it were. Oh, Brentford lose it cheaply. But yeah, well marshalled by Ida Bohr there. Got across his man quickly. Only half cleared. Frimpong. Humphreys. Left hand side again is Wilson. Bernabei. Yeah, the voices you can hear are the two coaches, loud and clear. Humphreys. Left hand side is Wilson. That's tidy. City keep it. Best period of possession for them. That's the most passes they put together thus far. But that's a really slack one. And there's a break on here. Important intervention from Rowan McDonald. Here comes City. Left hand side is a Gunby. That's a poor cross. And very coolly played back to his keeper by Morganson. And the danger is cleared. 21 gone, Brentford 1, Manchester City under 18s 0. Decent period of possession for Manchester City, Chris Deacon, but you don't look worried.
No, not at all. I think what we've seen from Brentford so far is confidence, if anything. They've seemed easy enough to control when it goes back against them. They're not worried. I think you're playing with a first team style. You've got 3 at the back, so you're not overrun at any point in time. And I think, as the head coach of Man City's just pointed out, his players are panicking a little bit when they get forward and see about 5 people to play against, and that cross showed it. When you've got going to be trying to play it low and you've got about 3 players to get through, it's not going to work. So I think we're more than happy just to sit back and absorb some pressure at the moment.
A lot's going through Gunby on this left-hand side, but yeah, final product so far. He's tried to curl one in, he's tried to bang one in, he's done a couple of ones where he's tried to set up Gonzalez, not quite come off yet, but he's looks like an attractive player, but being well marshalled presently by the Brentford Bees. Oh, a couple of crunching challenges coming in there. Oksanen comes away with it. It's onto that favoured left foot. Oksanen. Oh, that's great one-touch play from Brentford. Wall pass out to Zamburek. It curls out of play. Play warm round of applause. I'm terrible at judging crowds, Chris Deacon. How many would you say are scattered around the Braemar Road?
Oh, I'm equally as bad. I'd say there's at least 150 over there.
No, I think you're probably about right. Decent turnout. Free entry if you're local. You fancy coming down. We kicked off at 7:30, so 23 minutes on the clock, but plenty of football in this one. It's been entertaining thus far. 1-0 to Brentford.
I think at the moment you see the keeper struggling. He'd really rather play this short, but I don't think he's going to get the chance to.
It's Titov with the head up. Nudge in the back of Oksanen, but he's cool enough. Oh, I think that ball was meant for Oksanen, but that's okay. We've seen very few errors actually from Brentford thus far. Down the line for Da Silva to run onto. He's taken it well. Will dip into the box. Da Silva. Disappointing effort in the end. That's a lovely little bit of interplay between he and Morganson. Morganson properly teed him up there, didn't he?
Yeah, it was good play. I think you've seen a lot from Gustav in the last few months. He's certainly come into the team. When he first joined, it was more of a case of trying to adapt to the style of play, but that was perfect.
Yeah,
just Cole Da Silva couldn't quite get behind it.
Oh, clever. Oh, again, aggressive challenge from Hamar. That one doesn't come off. But Johnny Mitchell is comfortable, and a tug on the shirt clearly indicated by referee Matthew Downey. was well positioned when it comes to naught.
There's a few challenges with Pozzolarosa at the moment. But, I don't think he's too happy with Frederick Hammer.
Yeah.
Certainly keeps having a word in his ear. That might be something to look on.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It was studs first. Can't remember really Gunnarsson having too much to do thus far. 25 gone. Cole De Silva and over the top for Morganson to run on to. Oh, he's won it somewhat against the odds. He's going to go for goal. Oh, that wasn't far off, but entitled to have a crack despite the acute angle, Chris Deacon.
Absolutely. I think Rowan McDonald got a little bit unlucky there. He felt he was fouled. He seemed to slip on the turf, but fair play to the ref for carrying on. And Gustav had a lot of time to pick his spot and just couldn't get enough curl on it, certainly with the attention of McDonald back on his feet.
Keeper Scott was scrambling, and the ones over the top have not worked at all. A little flick from Oksanen, doesn't quite come off. City have got 5 beyond the midfield here, and yet they go backwards. They had one over in the half-back positions there, but it's ended up in the their own 18-yard box. A little cautious, perhaps. I'm being critical of Manchester City. Who do I think I am? Under 18s or not? Hark at me. Oof, there's another aggressive challenge. Yeah, there's a right old battle going on there between those two. Oksanen certainly has got the better of Bernabei there. But a free kick. Once again we see Tom Scott, the Manchester City goalkeeper, with the ball at his feet. Really a shank forward, mishit almost, and read by the Brentford B backline. A very uncomfortable clearance. It's been a very impressive performance thus far. Probably deserves a second goal from the Reds.
Probably does. Could have seen one from Gustav earlier, but plenty of options going forward.
De Silva. This time going to the back post. Oh, it's won well. There's enough room for a shot, is there? Not quite for Titov. Just reluctant to pull the trigger, perhaps. Tries to win it back. Wins a free kick. Really an unnecessary one. Brentford 2 were outnumbered 3-2 there, and that is a cheap free kick. I'm criticising Manchester City.
To be fair, I was impressed by Titov there. He did really well. He was clever to keep the ball away from his man, and in the box, I think if he'd just been able to shift it out of his feet, he might have done better at goal. But
it looked a lot as though there was a little gap at one point. Free kick, left-hand side. To the back post it goes. Heads go up. Still there to be won. And the big lads from the back have kept it alive. Oksanen. Oh, it's over, everybody. Oh.
Well, Fred has every right to claim for handball, but I mean, it was very close.
Well, good positioning from the goalkeeper, though. He knew an awful lot about it. Who got the final touch there?
I think Fred hit the shot. It definitely bounced off a few players. I think it looked like it might have cannoned back off McDonald's arm, but I mean, it's a yard away, so yeah. I don't think the referee's going to be able to give that.
But yeah, Hamar was certainly in the right place at the right time. I think we can consider that a let-off for City. Lovely ball in, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, lovely, perfect.
That's what Oksanen brings to this team. He's such a good passer with the ball. You've got Fred in the middle, who's really aggressive, really physical, can win the battles, and Jako's the one who's going to play the ball and spread possession all the way through the field.
Some partnerships being developed in the B team can only be a good thing. Oh, lovely turn from Zamburek, where it comes to nothing. Well, that's not a it's not company-esque, and bobbles into the arms of Gunnarsson from Tommy Doyle.
It's a shot on target, and I tell you what, I think it's Manchester City just really trying anything at the moment to get something on Patrick Gunnarsson's goal.
Yeah. Totally. He thought about it, and you know, perhaps there is a criticism that he wasn't closed down quickly enough. It was a long way out. Oh, Calder-Silva's done well, though. He's unlucky. City come forward in numbers, but the little poke through looking for the run of Bernabei is well marshalled. Cameron Humphreys. Great ball. Straight into the feet of Bernabei. Little pull on the shorts. Now, surely there's a chance for City from the dead ball.
Well, these are the things you don't want to give away. You talk about, you know, organisation and chances and what they'll get during a game. This is certainly what you don't want, a free kick just outside the box with a Manchester City team who are very technically good. You know, they're certainly going to be able to work something from this, even if it's just a straight shot or goal. So it's not something you want to be. I think that's why you heard the frustration from Lars down the touchline. He knew that was a bad chance to give away. It's only a few yards outside the box.
It's Doyle over it. Only a three-man wall, and he's going to go for goal. Oh, that's a good save, Gunnarsson. A save perhaps you'd expect him to make, as that was the part of the goal that he was in charge of marshalling. But he was at full stretch. Decent chance for Doyle.
Yeah, not bad. It certainly hit with some pace. And I think one of those that it's a nice height. You talk about that phrase all the time, a nice height. It's a nice height for him to get across to, but certainly needed to get there in time.
Yeah, there was plenty of curl on it. Back post, this one from Manchester City's first corner. Oh, all sorts of space for Rowan McDonald. Another corner as the result has peeled off his man, far post. Nicely worked corner, nodded down. But too many legs in the way, perhaps. Which of the balls are we using? I did notice that City had bought their Premier League balls with them.
I think we've taken home advantage and gone for the miters here.
Perhaps other footballs are available. Perhaps we can use the Premier League ball second half, lads. Hit a pace this time. Heads go up. And it's come all the way through to very cool Ogunbi at the back post, who took it down. And a little bit of danger averted in the last couple of minutes or so as we go past the half-hour mark. Brentford B1, Manchester City under-18s 0. That's a mistake from Calder-Silva. And City still have players forward, and it's all a little bit untidy. And in the end, there was just too many nibbles at Oxenen. On the right-hand side is Zamburek, and he's got Titov for support. He goes early this time. Well, it's a decent header down into the ground, as one is supposed to from Morganson. Got just in front of his man. That's decent old-fashioned centre-forward play. City on transition, left-hand side, Ogunbi. This time a crossfield pass, but easily cut out over on that far side. Good ball, good turn, but good tackle from Oxenen.
Nearly.
Gunnarsson had to be on his mettle there, and he was, but it's not clear. Oh, a little bit of a misunderstanding between Paul Zalarosa and Richards. And Brentford can break here. But in the end, Ali Kout, his little back heel towards Calder-Silva doesn't come off. Well, that's untidy from City, and a little bit of space for Calder-Silva here. Going to go early, but you could see the disappointment from Zamburek there, as it was neither one thing nor t'other, and it's right in the position where the goalkeeper can take it, sternum height. Yeah, two good feet from Calder-Silva.
Not bad at all. I remember talking about footballs, and I was looking it up on my phone. We played FC Porto last season in Portugal. They travelled to play us, and they said, we don't mind what balls you use. You can use the Mitre ones, the yellow ones. Right. We used them. We were 3-1 up at half time, so they demanded we change to their Portuguese Premier League balls.
Well, I'm blowed.
Still beating 3-2.
I'm just proud of myself that I noticed it. Either that, or I'm disappointed with myself for being a total nerd and noticing it. Well, Brentford have been relatively comfortable so far, I'd argue. Possibly Lars Friis will be disappointed that they didn't score a second goal during a period of the game where they were very much on top, and have allowed a couple of City incursions. And at the moment it's City that are looking the stronger. Last couple of minutes, 5 minutes or so. The ref's given a free kick there, has he? This is surely one that's going to be whipped in. Has he? Yeah, he has, hugging that touchline. So yeah, free kick City. Just a little bit of panic in the left back berth. 10 minutes to go to half time. Brentford leading 1-0 here. City now starting to put some attacks together. Well marshalled though. Morganson is there to help out, but his shank clearance doesn't go very far. Brentford pressing the second ball. City have played around it nicely. But Jarvis Hyderborn with that clearance. That's nicely kept in. Wilson back to Humphreys. Back to the keeper it goes again. Which has led to some proper shouting from both benches. There you go. Having to make the keeper play, and the Manchester City coach's criticism of that, it was too obvious. That's a little bit of improvisation, and City are behind Brentford here. One over on this left-hand side is Wilson. That's comfortable. Good take from Ali Coote.
Again, I think you see it with the first team and this formation, 3-4-3. It just closes the gaps. So a team like Man City, who like to play through them, aren't going to find the space. You saw with Wilson there, he turned around and there's 3 Brentford chairs in front of him. He hasn't got the space to pass, and if you can't pass over the top, which I reckon these guys will struggle to do, you need to rely on Brentford either making a mistake or playing really, really quickly, in which case you can get past the back line quicker and have them out of position.
There's one team I saw do very well against us using that formation was Barnet in the cup there. That crazy game. They tried to add someone to the midfield to try and overrun the 2, and they did it really successfully. That was a great game, that was. I've never seen so many celebrities watching that, because there were several. It was the only game, I think, wasn't it, that night, and it was live on television, live on radio. We were doing it live at BBC London. There was all sorts of Stuart Pearce, wasn't there, and
we were watching
John Motson.
We were watching it live in Portugal at the time.
Oh, of course, yeah. The only celeb that wasn't there was you, Diggs.
Absolutely. I'll take that.
That was a terrific evening, that was. Da Silva. Just too far in front of his skipper. That's Marshall back to the keeper. It's stretched suddenly after quite a lot of tidy football. City have come away with it, riding a couple of the challenges. One over on the right hand side. Oh, decent goal. Decent goal. And coming in at the back post for the final touch, Richards. Gunnarsson just outnumbered on the break.
Yeah, I think as we said before, the only way Man City are going to score is going to be a very quick break, and that's exactly what it was. Play quickly out to the right-hand side. Just rely on the fact that we saw, the attack before you had Zamburak and Titov racing forward as soon as they lose possession. When they're out of it, you know, Manchester City know they've got 2 or 3 players who aren't in position, quickly play it across, and the header at the far post is completely unmarked. So
just went suddenly through the gears, didn't they? Richards with the goal then, equalising De Silva's 4-minute strike. 1-1. About 5 or 6 minutes to go to half-time. Won't be much time added on. And City suddenly look as though they're the team most likely presently. Good goal. Really good goal. Very nice. Very easy on the eye.
Well, a goal of quality which you really expect from a team like Man City.
Yeah. Under 18s or not, it was a very Man City-esque goal, wasn't it? Oh, a little bit of a misunderstanding. Brentford, a little bit of respite. Yeah, because they've not had the better of the early exchanges, but last 10 minutes or so, despite a couple of decent balls into the box from Brentford, it's been City that have looked the most likely. Oh, another mistake at the back, this time from Eidebor. And there's players up in this attack. And Oxenden perhaps a little fortunate there. Here's Ali Coote. Oxenden seen a lot of the ball. Sweet left peg. Lovely. Oxenden gets it back from Morganson. Cole De Silva hugging that left touchline. Good take from Coote because it wasn't the best pass in the entire universe. And now Brentford can make City chase for a little bit. Eidebor's come forward but kind of got in Oxenden's way. Titov goes for the push and run. He's taken out. Cole De Silva. Ali Coote. Oh, Morganson sets up.
Great goal.
A lovely goal from Jan Zamburek.
Well, we spoke about the fact that Morganson is getting better and better with its, you know, almost telepathy, his relationship with the players, and that's exactly what we were talking about, the example there. The ball back was superb, and I mean, Jan Zamburek only has to pick his spot from there. It's a great finish into the bottom corner. 2-1,
really clever from Cole De Silva, because I thought for one moment that the chance had gone because Zamburek was actually favourite for the cutback. So into Morganson's feet it went, but Morganson knew who was in the better position rather than trying to control it and turn and panic. That is lovely. That's got to go down as good coaching, isn't it? 2-1 piece.
Yeah, 100%. That's that. You do not just do that by accident. That's a drilled situation which you absolutely have to practice and practice and practice, and came off really well there.
Didn't it just? The square ball was hit at some pace by Cole De Silva. Morganson's assist was a thing of beauty, almost as beautiful as the strike in the end from Jan. 2-1 Brentford. Somewhat against the run of play, but it was a lovely move. And 3 really, really high quality goals thus far down here at GP. The shadows lengthen as we enter the crepuscular part of the day. Nice from De Silva. A little bit of improv from Ali Coote. That's a little bit more aggressive from the Man City midfield. Well, it's Brentford who come away with it. Oh, little nudge in the back of Oxenden, but referee Matthew Downey says throw in. Did look like a foul. Scott, the keeper. Yeah, having to hesitate, having to go poke it long. That's a great ball though to Ogunbi. 1 minute of time added on. It's a very important header from David Titoff. He had to make that one, but it's City that keep it. Comfortable on the ball, as you'd expect. Aggressive challenge from Morganson. And he's done well there to force the error. And Brentford have got on with it. Oh, unlucky goal kick. I think it just came back, didn't it, into Ali Coote. But what a fantastic thrusting run to the byline.
Yeah, really good, and really well done from Morganson on this bottom hand side, because he kept the ball from Man City. That really, it was a nothing challenge, but he made sure they won the throw, and Oxen just has to drive and drive. It's really unlucky on the line that's come off a defender, because it's 3-1 almost, and you're going into half time, wondering what you have to do.
This lung-busting run forward from fullback Frimpong. Corner, Manchester City. A little bit of improvisation. See something a little bit different sometimes. Just a lung-busting run through the middle, but not enough time to take it, says Matthew Downey. 2-1 Brentford. Cole da Silva with a delightful free kick on the 4th minute. Equalised around 6 minutes from half-time from Taylor Richards on the break. Athletic header at the back post, beating Patrick Gunnarsson. Not a lot he could have done about the second one. And Zamburek then with the second goal for Brentford on 42 minutes. Brentford lead here 2-1. My name's Billy Reeves. Alongside me is Chris Deacon, who looks after the public relations for the Brentford B team. What's been your highlights this season from a B team point of view? Lots of nice little trips abroad.
Yeah, not half. There's been a few highlights. I think mainly it's a weird when you spend so much time with the players. You're just so happy when they make a debut. I think that's been for me, because you see the players working hard and playing really well and adapting to a system. But it's entirely up to the first team staff if they're used, if they're if they're ready, if they're available. So seeing a few players make their debut this season has been fantastic. But yeah, there's been some good trips. Winning the cup, a huge one this season. Yeah. And yeah, there's been so many different highlights and lowlights to this season. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, and I think for both A and B teams, the B team obviously very much affected by the death of Rob Rowan as much as anybody. Who would you say of the current B team squad then has really stood out for you, and you think this boy has got a career ahead of him at Brentford? The current lot, not necessarily the ones that were promoted to the A team. So let's take those out of it. But out of you include the ones that have played for the A team. Who's really impressed you? You think this boy's got the lot? There's so many different aspects to each player in the team, and they're all fantastic. I mean, you look at some of the performances. I think, some of the players who are starting on that journey. Gustav Mogensen, he's a really intelligent forward who's a very big lad. I think that's what we've been lacking across the field in a few areas of the B team. So I think he'll come in and as you've seen tonight, he's really growing into that style of play, really growing into the dressing room as a part of it as well. So I think Gustav is a huge potential future. I mean, they've all got chances. Jan Zamburek is one of those players who you look at him and you don't think he's physically, going to massively have an impact, but he gives as much as he gets on the field. He's really good at putting himself about. He's a really technical player. You look to some of the players in both the back line and the front line. I mean, Jaakko Oksanen, who made his debut before. I know, speaking about Zamburek, he's already made his first team debut. I think Thomas has already picked out those players who he thinks are worthy of a little sniff, and sometimes it's just unlucky. As always with our midfielders. You saw last season we had a really strong midfield. It was hard for the likes of Reece Cole and Zane Westbrook to make it in. This season you've had some immense midfielders. Cam Hela-Makocho is an incredible midfielder, as is Romain Sawyers. So, it's going to be hard for any midfield to make it in there. But there's a lot of talent, They've done well, haven't they? From what we've seen of the B team cameos this season, they've done really well.
Yeah, they have, and I think half of that is confidence. I think half of that is being able to step into an environment where you're not afraid, where you're not, lacking in confidence, or you're kind of maybe afraid to play your game. I think you try and. I think we saw the biggest example of this I saw is Chris Mepham when he came on for his debut for against Eastleigh in the FA Cup. He looked a little bit nervous. He'd been training with the first team a lot, hadn't had too much B-team game time that season, so he looked a little bit, timid. You saw Jan Zamburek play here against Hull. He came on and played a crossfield pass about 45 yards. That's the difference. When you've been playing full-time B-team football, when you're in the environment, you play at Griffin Park from time to time, you're used to the field, used to the players as well. That was a great example.
Those early touches are so important, I think, because if straight away, so many of the fans here know their football and they know that it's a B team player, and someone coming on as a substitute late on, maybe chasing the game, make a mistake, and there'll be groans and moans, and Mads Beck Sorensen's been a really good example of that. Who to start, who was essentially brought into the team as a little bit of an emergency and has just grown because you need minutes on the pitch. Josh Da Silva, of course, brought in as part of the A team. I know he's played for the B team, but he was brought in to join the first team. To start with, just looked as though he was, running into trouble. His decision making was poor, and you just need minutes on the pitch, didn't he? Because he, was close to man of the match, if not the man of the match.
Yeah.
So its experience is so important, isn't it? Obviously.
Of course it is, and that's what the B team gives you. I think you saw it when Alan Judge came back from injury. He didn't want to be thrown into an environment where he had to test himself in the championship. So he played 4 or 5, 6 B team games, really put himself about in them, was not pulling out of challenges, and then he sort of thought to himself, you know what, I'm ready for this. And he goes and scores a free kick against Arsenal a few weeks later, and that's the impact. That's what you can have when you play a bit of B team football that's not just playing against your local sides at the same age level. You're playing against different teams, different experience levels. You're playing really good games, and you look at Patrick Gunnarsson, who came on at Middlesbrough. His performance there wasn't one of, oh God, I've come into the team. He was strong, he was confident. That last minute where he's held onto the ball under pressure was superb, and it's why Johan Barbe's gone and hugged him, because it's just one of those things that, especially as a goalkeeper, you need to be able to have that confidence. And
great.
Pat is an example of that.
Great moment, great photograph. This is one of those sort of like fan conversations that you have down the pub. So feel free to take the fifth on this.
Right.
When Brentford get promoted to the Premier League.
Right.
My understanding is that you have to have whatever it is, an A academy, a B academy. That, like Huddersfield, for example, have to have an under-23 academy because they're in the Premier League. So when Brentford get promoted to the Premier League, what is your understanding of what happens then to the B team, the academy?
I mean, the honest answer is I don't know. The honest answer is I don't actually know. I mean, the best guess, in the same case as Watford, who wanted to do the same thing and produce a B team that's very close to their 23s, I think the answer would be that the Premier League, being the exclusive club that it is, would demand that you have certain regulations, and in the same way that if we went to the Premier League, Griffin Park couldn't just stay the same, you'd have to make changes. It's not going to happen anymore because we're not going to be at Griffin Park, but in the same vein, I think with the academy or with a certain level of football, you'd have to introduce something. Whether you get special dispensation to say, can we have a few more years to do that, or whether they'd say, you know what, you've got the money now, do what you can. I don't know. I'd certainly think the style wouldn't change. We've certainly now got a system where, we've chosen to do this. Whether it will change in the Premier League, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's so close, model-wise anyway. It'd be interesting because when it happens in the very, very near future, it's going to be very interesting to see what the Premier League says, especially as it's been so, successful. It's so well known. I speak to some of the ex-pros that we use on BBC London as summarisers. They're absolutely fascinated by it. They've learnt a lot about it. It's strange how many of them know quite a little bit about it, that have done their homework about the B team. There is that little bit of buzz around the sort of like lower echelons, middle echelons of football. People do know what they're talking about when they talk about the Brentford B team. It's become quite famous.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's because you act first. When you're the first one to actually adopt a system, it's a very interesting technique. Huddersfield is a really good example of that, because Huddersfield were in conversations with us about their B team system before they got promoted to the Premier League, and we'd certainly, I know Robert Rowan had conversations with them about it, and everyone's trying to say, a new idea comes in, and everyone at the table says, well, how have you done this? What can we do with it? What can we adapt there? And they're a very good example of, having spoken to their media boys, how they've had to adapt and change it slightly in a way that meets Premier League regulations. But I think, the Brentford system is one that just really works for our club. We're not a team that can outspend people. We've said that 100 times, in the last week. We can't afford to do that. So you need a system that works for you, and this one is one that not only pushes the players to be the top players they can be, but also, gives the club an absolutely advantage in that scenario.
No, that's a really good point actually you make there, because it's not a case of one size fits all. When you see fans on Twitter of other clubs saying, you know, let's look at what Brentford do. Why aren't we doing what Brentford are doing? And you think, well, actually, you probably need, if you are going to the Brentford model in inverted commas, you probably need the following: the owner. Mm-hmm. The same guy, the two directors of football, that you need the whole, you basically need to absolutely everybody that's involved. You can't, and it's interesting also when people look at, you know, we're now talking about Queen's Park Rangers fans saying, well, why don't we do what they do at Brentford, to the point where there's speculation that they might have a manager who once was the manager here. I mean, that's how funny it's getting in a way.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the funny thing is, like, you look at some teams who you don't think it would work. You don't think, because I think that on some level, you know, when things are tighter, when you've got to look after your budget, when you've got to do certain things, I think desperation is the wrong word, but when the pressure's on, you need those people who are going to do that and make those decisions correctly. And I think that the model we have currently, in many ways, it's like when Dean Smith came to Aston Villa, and suddenly you had Villa fans saying, well, here we go, we're done, we're in the Premier League now, we've got all the system, we've got Dean was the brains behind it, but there are so many different people. Dean's a really good coach, of course he is, and Richard O'Kelly is a fantastic manager, but you look at the actual technical staff behind him, and there are so many more different options than just the manager or the head coach. You've got the people behind the scenes, the directors of football, the scouting department, you know, the ones who've got to actually go and see the players and do that. Yeah. You know, there was a lot of talk of Moneyball at one point. I remember that, when they were talking about stats, and Brentford is going to use stats. Absolutely not. Of course we're going to use some of them, because it's the way Matthew, you know, has introduced this to the club, but you've still got to have that traditional system of going and looking at players and their character and temperament, and as Lars Friesel says all the time, their hunger, because that's what they need as a beating player, the hunger to say to themselves, look, we need to, you know, I may have been lost by Man City, I may have been dropped by Tottenham, but this is the chance, this is what I need to take.
No, really good point. Also, of course, you do look at some of those clubs where you see people from fans groups tweeting, you're actually talking about the fact that they've got themselves into financial straits in the first place, and that's why suddenly they think, okay, now we've got to work on a cuter budget, but you're actually not working on a cuter budget because you've got that debt hanging over your head which needs paying off anyway. So you may have, I remember speaking to one of the first interviews I did. I remember being really out of my comfort zone, and I did it was about, when was it? It was about 12, 13 years ago, I think. I interviewed Barry Hearn when he was the owner at Leyton Orient, and he said something very interesting. He said within 10 years, I think he's probably slightly out by a few years, he said within 10 years you'll see the Football League with a lot of very different teams in it. Mm-hmm. As there's so many clubs that are running completely unsustainably, you're going to see some old names going, and you're going to see a very different Football League in 10 years. Now, he's not far wrong, is he? Because you do wonder if that's now starting to happen. You do wonder if there will be no such thing as Bolton Wanderers tomorrow, for example. You know, and again, that makes me, you know, I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to sound like sort of like weepy old fool here, but you do think, okay, if we're in the bottom 4 wages-wise, and we're always in the top 10, top 11, you do wonder about those other clubs, and you do wonder how they managed to get themselves in that mess in the first place. Obviously, a lot of that goes down to Matthew Benham and the player transfers in and out. But you do wonder, and you go to some of the. I mean, you've been in the press box at some of these places, and you've spoken to the local journalists, and it's only really then you get an idea of just how crazy these clubs are.
Yeah, of course. It's also another thing in terms of, you know, when you talk about those big names and those big clubs, you look at what they spend their money on and how they spend their money, and all these different things that carry on or don't. And particularly with a big team, you know, like Aston Villa, like Bolton, like those teams that are just have been so used to spending their money in a certain way and will continue doing it traditionally. Whereas you look at us, and it's also about new thinking, new terminology, new ways of doing things. It's not just an idea of behind, okay, we're going to adapt a style of play. Okay, fine. Well, what happens behind the scenes? Okay, well, we need to think about a new way of recruitment, or a new way of, you know, in our case, doing things in an academy that wasn't working, so we have to change the system. That's how you get innovation and ideas. I think you look at the teams that are in trouble and struggling, you think to them, well, what have you changed in the last 10 years? Yeah. What is different?
The manager.
Exactly.
Sometimes, and that's it. Yeah.
And then you see teams who are, you know, like struggling with who the manager is, and they think, we need to get rid of this guy, but where's the money going to come from to get rid of him is the first thing.
And also, how many weeks have you got? You know, how many weeks have you got to bring in a complete culture change at some of these big clubs over in the summer. Yeah, it'd be very interesting to. I always remember that. I remember thinking, okay, Barry Hearn knows what he's talking about here. And the other thing I remember of it is he said a rude word live on there, and I thought, okay, what do I do here? You know, do I apologise? Do I apologise? Do I sort of like shine a light on the fact that he's done it, or should I just sort of like let it go? I took I took the latter option. No one complained, fortunately. But that's the other thing I remember about it. I'm going to take note of this and see if Barry Hearn, and I think he might be right. I mean, he's a interesting chap, and obviously, ironically, of course, it was him that put Leyton Orient in trouble by selling it in the first place. Oh, how I don't need to remind you of what's happened to Doncaster and Yeovil and Leyton Orient and those teams that we played around the time that we were coming up from the third division. The players are coming back out, as you can see. Everyone looks quite calm presently. Oh, let's have a look at the Man City whiteboard. Look, Man City whiteboard. We've got an old whiteboard with magnets on it. Come on, you're the expert, Chris. What are they up to? You can totally tell from that
angle at all.
Have you seen much of Thomas Frank at B Team games?
Yeah. Thomas or Brian or Kevin. They're all involved. I think it's part of the structure. The first thing you say to a head coach coming in is, look, you know, you're going to, certainly for the B team, you're going to be involved a lot with different things at this club, and there's only two. So if you're not watching one of them, why not head out to the B team? You know, we play at Josie Road all the time. Why not head out and have a look there?
Oh yeah, because they're pretty much there.
Of course, exactly. It's just they're out their office window, so that's a really key thing. You know, you look up to the staff box there. I think you can see Thomas in his suit just at the top on the right hand side of the stairs. So.
Hold on a minute. Is there a staff box? Is that what we call the directors?
That's what the directors box is for tonight. It's the staff box.
I see what you mean.
There are several Brentford directors in there and a few staff as well. So, yeah, they always take a keen interest. And also, it's one of those things where you've got to stay informed, because if you lose a player, if you need a player, there's no way you can just walk into Lars and Alan's office and say, who's next?
I say, can I have a centre-back player? Yeah, and last time I was here, of course, Sam Saunders was scurrying around, and then suddenly he was at the Colchester United and nearly helped them get up. Have we seen much of Sam?
Yeah, Sam.
What happened there? What was all that about? Why was Sam Saunders helping out?
Well, Sam's obviously working on his, you know, he's a clever guy. He's working on his post-football career ambitions, and coaching will probably be a part of that. And, you know, we're one of those clubs that he knows very well, and knows the staff, and loves being around the place, and sees a lot of old faces, and so why not have the opportunity to come and coach? And we're certainly one of those teams who are going to be absolutely fine with him coming in and shedding some expertise.
Yeah, well, we're off and underway. Thanks, Chris. We're off and underway. Doesn't look as though there's any changes. Brentford B, Gunnarsson, Idabor, Onan, Mitchell, Oksanen, Da Silva, Fred Hammer, Ali Coote, Zamburek, Morganson, Titoff. On the bench, Anderson, Hardy, Johansson, Matti Matka, and Jayden Brissett. Manchester City, Tom Scott, Frimpong McDonald, Rowan McDonald. I haven't been able to find out whether or not he's known as Ronald McDonald in the dressing room. Humphreys, Wilson, Posa La Rosa, Richards, who scored the goal, a good one it was. Doyle, who went close for the free kick. Gonzalez, Bernabei, Ogunbi down the left-hand side, who's been impressive. And Brentford lead here 2-1.
I've just noticed Gonzalez has actually come off for number 15.
Ah, good
one
spot.
Change.
Oh, and it's 2-2.
Well, an example of being caught cold.
Tommy Doyle.
Literally a case of three defenders stood watching, and we said it before in the first half, when you've got players of that much quality who can just pick something from distance, you can't afford to let them shoot from just that. That's going to be one of those places that it's a cold example of when you score and you let your guard down. That almost seemed it was exactly the same.
Simmons is the substitute. Good finish though.
Great finish.
Great finish on the deck. 2-2. So are we going to see another goal fest down here as we did against Uwe Rosner's Malmö? Brentford now attacking the Ealing Road away to our left-hand side. Brentford B2, Manchester United, Manchester City under-18s 2.
Be careful with that mistake.
What mistake? And City are very much on the front foot here. Frimpong allowed to gamble into the box, but well marshalled in the end by Idabor. Cole Da Silva. Good take from Morganson. A Romain Sawyers-esque turn. Hasn't quite come off. And City have come out all guns a-blazing. Second half. Allowed to turn. Richards, goal scorer, the scorer of the first goal. Silva goes for the push and run. It's an uncomfortable bounce.
Oof. Close that.
Yeah, calm from Oxenden. Dummy. But Fred Hamar is there. And it's going to go back to Pat Gunnarsson. Uncomfortable for Idabor. He's going to be pressed and closed down pretty quickly, so he had to get out from under his feet sharpish. It's loose. Idabor gives the shout. Morganson, hold up play. That's an ambitious ball. And it's almost made its target. It's a clever ball because he hit that blind. 2-2.
Yeah, number 7 is still on the floor at the back here.
Oh yeah, good spot.
I think that's why they're happy to put the ball out.
Okay, it's Taylor Richards who's down. He's just deciding whether or not he's going to have some treatment. He's decided against it. By the looks of things, yeah, he's rubbing his head, which is why there's some concern. No, he's not going to come off. So, Taylor Richards bang on his feet. To a glancing blow, he says. Brentford's first attack then. 2-2, 49 on the clock. My name's Billy Reeves, alongside me is Chris Deacon from the Brentford FC PR team. Jarvis Idabor left back today. Left of the 3 centre halves. Calder Silva wide, and a ball which was designed to split the lines goes harmlessly out of play. Familiar indigo sky above Griffin Park, exaggerated by the lemon yellow of the lights. Doesn't leave the 18-yard box, as I was talking about earlier on. That will be different law-wise next year. Goal kick will not have to leave the 18-yard box. Clever little law change, which won't cost any clubs any money at whatever level, and will hopefully make for a more exciting spectacle. I think the most significant one in my lifetime, Chris, is the back pass rule. That was a really clever idea. That's well won by Brentford. Very aggressive midfield play. Down the right-hand side to Morganson it goes. Gets it out from under his feet, but he's well marshalled. And Humphreys plays his way out. Oh, aggressively won back from Brentford though, and they've still got players up from the original attack. Morganson just runs into trouble. And City can clear down the centre of the pitch. And the break is on. Gunnarsson's going to come for this. Oh, lets it go under his feet, and it's loose. It didn't go out of play. And it's hacked clear in the end by Johnny Mitchell. Who's down?
Jarvis.
Is it Jarvis Idabor has gone down? He's holding... He looks a little bit uncomfortable.
I think he's holding his groin. I think he stretched a little bit when he tried to catch up with that winger.
I think you're right. Referee Matthew Downey, assisted by Sonny Gill and Jack O'Heen. The fourth official, Lisa Ben. But referee Downey very quick to bring the Brentford medical staff onto the pitch. Yeah, he looks a little bit uncomfortable, Jarvis, presently. Hasn't had too many hold-ups so far. A little bit of concern from his colleagues as well.
Calder Silva's having some treatment as well.
Oh yeah, to his hand, wrist.
I think Patrick Gunnarsson was lucky there. He almost seemed like he was appealing the ball gone out, but you can't just stand it with your hand in the air. Dangerous.
Totally. But yeah, there was no Manchester City player coming in and gambling. They were a long way back by that point. But yeah, an error from the young keeper. Yeah, Jarvis looks a little uncomfortable. That's a chance for everybody to drink some drinks, or of course, as we call it in professional sport, take aboard liquids, take liquids aboard. You'll also note that when important people, for example today Thomas Frank, are watching a football match, they're watching on. You and I watch a football match, but VIPs watch on. Robbie Williams watches on. Seen the new owners of Port Vale, talking of Robbie Williams? Have a little look at their Twitter feed.
Right.
See the new owners of Port Vale. Wonderful. And I mean that in the dictionary definition. I'm full of wonder.
Jarvis is not going to be able to continue here.
It doesn't look like it. He's very, very, very limpy. And Jayden Brissett will come on. There's going to be a little bit of a formation change here as a result of that.
Possibly. I mean, but by the looks of things, David Titov is going to fill in at centre-back on that left side, and Jayden Brissett will be the right wing-back. Which makes sense. I mean, Titov is capable across the field. But we've now gone from having quite a tall back three to a relatively average one.
Yeah, Jarvis Idabor is very sore in the groinal area. Good challenge from the very impressive Oxenen. A little bit of a misunderstanding there, as Morganson went for the run to try and beat the offside trap. And Calder Silva wanted him to stop, I think, there. 2-2. A little bit of a hold up there because of the injury to Jarvis Idabor, and it's 54 on the clock. The City have definitely had the better of this second half thus far. It's loose and Hamar comes away with it. Oh, but City are now starting to put some decent challenges in themselves. Gunnarsson has to get down smartly with the save. And there's a little bit of a clash. He's okay. Decent save. It was coming at him at a fair old whack.
Yeah, good save. I think he'd be disappointed he didn't hold on to it first time, but certainly did well to get up. I think what the Brentford coaching staff are more annoyed at is that, you know, the player who charged in after him then came off worse and then wanted the ball played out. So.
Yeah. And then there was actually nothing wrong with him, as it turned out.
No.
Anywho.
Oh no.
Given away. A little bit of a snapshot in the end from Richards, where perhaps he had a little bit more time than he thought.
He certainly had the right idea. Put it back because Gunnarsson's motoring across his line, thinking he's going for the far post. It was the right idea, but
yeah, to put it where he'd come from.
Yeah,
as it were. It was well wide. Actually, a let off for Brentford. It stays Brentford B2, Man City under 18s 2. 56 on the clock. Goodness me, Oxenen putting himself about, doing the old synchronised swimming win of the ball as Moses Odubajo did on Saturday. That's just a little bit too aggressive from Calder Silva. Two-footed. Fortunately, the Man City player was nowhere near the ball, but referee Matthew Downey has decided that is a foul. To the interpretation of the laws. Man City are really zipping the ball about. Looking a bit scary at times here, Chris.
Certainly are. I think the fresh legs at the top really has helped. They're stretching our defence a little bit, and now obviously Jarvis has gone, the less experienced back three now, so they're going to have to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, City are coming forward with the ball quicker than they did in the first half. Certainly they played lickety-split past the press for the equaliser. I think referee was looking for an advantage there, but none was forthcoming. Foul from David Titoff, who's now part of that back line. Getting a little bit of a talking to from the referee. Free kick. Manchester City have been very impressive in the early stages of this second half, making Brentford do all the chasing presently. Nice one back low by the Bees down that far side. Chance to build, but not to hurry it. Oh, Titoff, a bit dangerous. Clever little flick from Ali Coote. It's all a little bit messy though. David Titoff gives Ali Coote an old-fashioned glance, old-fashioned expression.
Yeah, I think it was going so well. I think they actually played that really cleverly. They were calm. They were moving the ball back and forward, and suddenly it just fell apart as the ball back wasn't good enough. Now we're going to see a change of striker.
Here comes Joe Hardy. I think scored the most goals for the B team, would I be correct in saying? Coming on for Morganson.
Yep, scored the most goals of all time. Scored the most goals for Brentford this season. In Brentford shirt, anyway.
How many? Putting you on the spot.
He's on 29.
All right. That's pretty impressive.
Just the one more than Neil Maupay. And of course Neil was unfairly cheated out of a potential game at Bolton.
Hat-trick at Bolton. Absolutely no danger. Well, as you know, Remains claimed the goal at Bolton.
I think everyone's claimed it. I think Luke Daniels was in the shout with the goal there.
Harry Kane, ha ha ha. But yeah, well, I think Remain was the first to go public to claim it, and I think it was his first goal of the season, wasn't it? Clear. Outnumbered though, and Ali Coote is there. Sharp turn from Zamburek, and a little bit of pressure taken off the Brentford back line.
I think Humphreys was a little bit unlucky. There was a little bit of a strength contest as opposed to a foul.
Chance for a bit of possession at least. Titoff now playing as left-sided centre-back. Oh dear, Brentford have made a real mess of that. Well, it's snapped into the path of Pozola Rosa, but cleared. Hardy going for the push and run. It's the first time I think I can remember Tom Scott under any sort of pressure. That's one back by Brentford. Ali Coote. Hardy gets it caught under his feet. Unlucky from Fred Hammer. Just couldn't get the back lift and therefore was leaning back.
It was unlucky really that Joe Hardy couldn't get out of his feet. You could tell what he wanted to do, just slide it across his body and then smash it with his right foot.
Set up well though, right hand side. First real meaningful attack, I think, for the Brentford Bees. Oh, that's a smart turn on that far side from a Gumby. He's got support. A very important clearance from Jayden Onan. Had to get something on it and did so. Good defending in the end, as Brentford have possession of the football back. Oxenen, who's been involved in much of what Brentford have done, as has Hammer. Ali Coote. I've seen a lot of the football. Right-hand side. Onan, but out of play it goes. And a decent game, I think. A slew of substitutions. Amankwa. Have to be careful with that one, Mr. Gillam. Not better. So I make that 3 substitutions from City thus far.
Looks like Richards has lost his tracking device.
Oh yeah, good spot. My understanding was that it wasn't allowed, but it is now, because I guess it would be a very difficult thing to police, isn't it? You'd have to sort of like, you'd have to see fourth officials having to tap people down looking for GPS devices. I remember when we went to Leipzig, Uwe was saying that it was moot as to whether or not that constituted a friendly or not, or whether or not it was a game where you could or couldn't use GPS. So that some of the players wore GPS just in case, and that the rules needed to be changed because it would just be impossible to know which ones were wearing devices and which ones weren't.
I think these two use a similar system. Little vest, little pack on the back. We went to play the Nike Academy. They had almost like a cigarette sticker. It was quite a high level of technology.
Oh, well, like a Nicorette patch.
Yeah, like a Nicorette patch.
Cigarette sticker.
I couldn't think of the words. I got so close.
I knew what you meant.
I got so close.
Knew what you meant. Back post. A little push in the back, spotted by the referee. That happened a little bit too much for me this season, with balls coming in with the A team from set pieces, especially corners, getting pulled up for fouls. I know that was one of the things that referees were told to look out for this season. It just bugged me a little bit that we were getting pulled up for too many silly fouls in the box when we were trying to bang balls in there from free kicks and corners. I want to see, personally, I want to see less of that next season.
Yeah, I think it's, refereeing is always a hot topic for debate. I think it's a really interesting mix between the different league systems and how different the refereeing are in each one. I know Neil Warnock has been complaining no end about how Premier League teams at certain ends of the table get more than others.
Well, he would, wouldn't he? He's a qualified referee, you know. In case there's anybody in the universe that doesn't know that. A little slip at a crucial time from Bernabei. Perhaps Brentford can break here. Ali Koo, ambitious ball over the top, but it's comfortable for Ogbeta. Oh dear, here comes City again. Doyle inside to Richards. Doyle again, but Gunnarsson is the equal of it. Shout of engage from the Manchester City coach. What does that mean? Tackle him?
Oh no, I think in that place it was just go after the ball. I think he didn't want that to run out of play.
Offside trap breached here. There's plenty of City players up. That's a poor ball from the left-hand side. Looking for the run of Simmons, who was in a very good position, and that is a proper let-off because just about a yard the other way and Simmons could have stuck out a leg and that would have been a goal. Offside trap breached. Pat Gunnarsson up in the air it goes, looking for Hardy, who's not really been involved since he's been on the pitch too much.
If there's one man who should know this team, it's Joe Hardy. Started at Man City.
Yeah, good stat.
I think you'll probably know the age group we play next week, the 23s in Manchester, a little bit better, but certainly should know the style of play.
Yep. He's a bit of a pocket rocket, isn't he, Joe Hardy? Stocky.
Finishing is fantastic as well.
Well, 29 goals tells its own story, does it not? Well won. The referee has decided no advantages forthcoming. From Brissett's challenge. He's been involved a couple of times. Hamar loses out.
Loves the challenge, doesn't he?
Oh, goodness me, yeah, very impressive. Richards has got the better of Titov here. Oh, Richards is still going. Into the box he goes, but he's marshalled out of play by the always aggressive Oksanen. 67 on the clock, 2-2. Brentford taking the lead through Calder Silva early on. Equalised by Richards with a header at the back post on the break. A second one from Zamburek to make it 2-1 just before half-time, but then immediately after the break, Tommy Doyle on the break has equalised. And we have parity here. Brentford a little bit uncomfortable at the back. That's a very tough challenge from Johnny Mitchell to win it back. And City have had the better of this second half. Here's Cole de Silva, who was much more involved first half, but has been pinned back a little bit more by Frimpong this time in this second period. Comfortable clearance from Gunnarsson. Ali Coote's gone after it. Brentford's midfield second best. And run clear by the impressive Tommy Doyle. Manquart. Doyle beats his man. And he's away from him. Important intervention from David Titoff. Cole de Silva, Ali Coote. Oh, and then just a little bit of a miss kick.
Talk about the terminology on the Man City bench. He's just shouted injection as well. There's all kinds of terminology going on.
Substitution for Brentford.
Mr. Hammer.
Played well, I think.
Done well in that midfield. And certainly a capable replacement in Henrik Johansson.
Man City much more positive, much more offensive in this second half. That's a good challenge from Mitchell. He's a little bit unlucky not to keep that in. Had to get there and did so. Bernabei. Brentford forced the error.
It's been a little bit flat for the last few minutes.
Yeah.
Not as much energy in it. Neither team kind of pushing too hard.
Well, Gunnarsson's been forced into a couple of saves, and disappointingly Tom Scott has been a spectator. And that's a very important challenge at the back, but given away. And a cheeky little chip from Tommy Doyle is a little bit too high. Great movement in and around that 18-yard box from Manchester City, and Taylor Richards looked as though he was about to pull the trigger and test the keeper. Johansson's first intervention in the game, he runs into trouble. Wearing number 12. Back to Tom Scott it goes. Gaps are opening up now. Pozo La Rosa allowed all sorts of space to Beckenbauer his way out of trouble there. Bernabei has also been much more lively, wearing number 10. That's a good ball. Richards is onside. He's going to keep it in as well. Got his fullback for support. But fortunately overhits it. They've totally pinned Cole de Silva back this half, haven't they?
They have, and I think they're exposing the lack of defence, or the lack of experience at centre back. You know, you've got two players who've played mainly midfield this season. I know Johnny Mitchell's had a lot of experience at centre back in his days at Falkirk, but you've got Jayden Owen, who's not played there at all, and obviously David Titoff, who's not only a right-sided player but struggling a little bit to adapt to that three-man central defence. So there's a few errors out there, a few mistakes, but they're holding on, which is a good sign, because when you can hold on, you can certainly maybe nick a goal at the other end.
Yeah, David Titoff has been effective once the defence has been breached. He's made a couple of really important interventions inside his own 18-yard box, though, to be fair. But yeah, getting caught out, aren't we, at the moment, with that defence-splitting pass inside the three, which takes the wing-backs and the midfield out so effectively. I think there was a meeting in the away dressing room at half-time, and it's been very effective so far. We've seen most of the play in Brentford's half. 70 odd minutes on the clock now. Bernabei. Oh, hits the post. Gunnarsson beaten. And it's scrambled clear by Titov. Great strike from Bernabei. He's been threatening that.
Close, and as we said before, it's the quality. The quality that the Man City side have just to use in absolute reserve. If they can't find a gap to run through, they'll shoot. And you know, Bernabei's been looking to get onto that left foot for a long time, and when he finally did, Gunnarsson just had to watch it past him.
Bernabei wants the foul, he's not going to get it. Here's Joe Hardy. Hardy again goes for the push and run, but out it goes, and that despairing growl, you can hear his last freeze. It was a rare attack, really, if I'm being harsh.
Yeah, a bit of passing, bit of confidence back in the team. I think that's at the moment what they're lacking a little bit. They're a bit too worried about what might happen at the back, and their front play's been pretty awful, but that was clever. Henrik and then Joe, and then Jayden Brissett getting involved as well.
Yeah, Brissett started it, didn't he? Gunnarsson marshalling his 18-yard line. You can see how high City are pressing now. Not letting Brentford settle at all. But let's play past the press well. Johansson to Cole da Silva. First time we've seen him really in the final third, and the ball is flat, but the clearance is an unpleasant one. 74 gone, 2-2. Billy Reeves and Chris Deacon with you wherever you are. Hello. Brissett down the right hand side, he's running out of play though. Some of the aggression has gone from Brentford's play, because they're Manchester City are really not even giving them an opportunity to get a tackle in presently, certainly not in the middle third. So we've not seen quite so many crunching tackles. Referee Downey says that sandwich is illegal. And free kick to Manchester City, who have control of this game, certainly since the break. Well won back by Oxen. Ali Coote.
Great touch.
Brissett up on the overlap. Brissett's going to have to hit it first time. Too many Manchester City players in that 6-yard box.
Not bad though, not bad at all. You've certainly seen them building a little bit more. There's been more Brentford play in this last 2 or 3 minutes.
Couple of attacks down that right hand side. Also won by an aggressive challenge in the first place. Oxenen and Da Silva getting stuck in. Coote. Oh, but I think the referee's blown up for a foul there. He has.
Not entirely sure what it's for, but why not?
We're a long way from that. That's the way to play past the press. And that's a really good ball. A little bit of space out of nothing there for Jan Zamburek. He's kept it. Oxenen.
That's clever.
That's a lovely, smart turn from Coote. Brissett just wanted it to come into his path rather than attacking the ball. When the attack breaks down, that's really frustrating. 2-2.
We've certainly got one more option on the bench in terms of Massey, who's got a lot of pace and might well give Jan Zamburek a little break. So there is an option for the last maybe 10-12 minutes to push Man City a bit further forward.
It's been nothing for Joe Hardy to work with so far, as they're There's definitely two Jaakko Oksanens out there, though. He pops up everywhere, doesn't he?
He works hard.
Very impressive.
Does not stop running.
Very impressive indeed. Lovely hairdo as well. The Head and Shoulder commercials would very much come his way, I would have thought. Oh, an unusual error at the back. Keeper just about gets there and then properly shanks it out. So a chance for Brentford to build as we head into the last 12-13 minutes. There was an injury to Jarvis Idabor, so there will be some time added on. Coote. David Titov to Mr. Nobody.
Well, that's the right idea. That's definitely the sort of ball they want to play. Have the City team stretched and get Brissett in behind, but not with that pass.
Just wonder if it was even possibly met for Zamburek's run inside right, but either way, City had to keep that in because it came off the City man. Yeah, some of the zip has gone out of it. Presently, Manchester City keeping the ball. Just trading punches presently. But Oksanen is there to help his back line out, but he's lost out second ball, and a little tug back from Johnny Mitchell gives a free kick away in a very dangerous position inside left channel. Is Oksanen just feeling his left foot? He's walking a little bit uncomfortably. City get on with it now, no respite. Once again they elect to play it rather than pump it into the box. More practice at playing football, I guess. All very well banging balls in the box, but they want to keep playing. I'm pretty sure that if this was an A-team game, they'd have put that one in the box. It seems extraordinary to play it from there.
Maybe. I think you're right with Jaakko as well. He's struggling a little bit. I think playing so aggressively in the middle is what sometimes you get when you make a heavy challenge. It might come off a little badly.
Yeah, it seems that left foot. Here comes City then. Oh, unlucky from their point of view. And that's a decent first time ball into the path of Johansson. Lars Friis a little disappointed that Cameron Humphreys wasn't closed down quicker there. And that's a smart little turn from Keller. This is going to make it through to Calder Silva, somewhat fortuitously from Johansson. Calder Silva needs support. Johnny Mitchell down to Brissett. Not much room to work in, but he's done well. Zamburek.
I think the problem at the moment is you look at number 6 now, who's just completed the back 5. He's not playing as a defensive midfielder. He's just dropping into that back line. So every time you can maybe get past the defender, you met with 2 extra ones. So I think he's very cleverly playing that. Potts La Rosa.
Yeah, he's going to have the ceremonial talking to from Matthew Downey.
Surprised he's not yellow carded, isn't it?
I think he's been let off with a ceremonial talking to. Calder Silva in some space, left-hand side. Tricky one to take, but he's done so. But it's gone out of play in the end, and Brentford have wasted that, really. 81 gone. About 10, 12 minutes or so to play, I'd say. 2-2. Brentford probably with the better of the first half. Man City the better of the second. Lars Friis certainly the louder of the 2 head coaches presently. Couple more weeks in post for Lars. One more game up at the Etihad campus against the Man City under-23s. Then another week or so of meetings before he leaves us. It's Pozo La Rosa who's down. I really hope that's how you pronounce it. That really rolls off the tongue nicely with the round O's. Next goal wins it, Deeks.
Absolutely. Looking at Ali Coote, who's been called across to have a word with David Titov about challenges. I mean, 82 minutes, Mr. Downey is determined not to give a yellow card.
Yeah, a couple of tellings off for the young lads. It's all City presently. They're finding those little pockets of space, aren't they?
Oh,
It's a little skip over from Downey there.
nice. That's the ball that's going to open us up.
Goodness me. Early in this time. That's a little sneaky little push from Taylor Richards. Certainly Jayden Onan had to get his feet right there. That's quite an important intervention. But yeah, that flat cross from Spencer Keller causing all sorts of problems, but got to go down as good defending. Stood up tall, stood up strong. Calder Silva is lurking on this far side, a little bit of improvisation, but it's gone out. .83 on the clock, 2-2. Brentford have taken the lead twice in this contest against Man City's under-18s. Oh, that is good use of the ball and good use of the space. Adam Aziz. Right-hand side is Keller. Again, desperate clearance from Jayden Onan. That's a clever ball in as well. Gunnarsson is the equal of it. And a couple of players have gone down.
I think Titov might have cramp there as he fell. Certainly what Jayden is treating him for.
That is the traditional cramp stance. Yeah, enough of a problem for the kneading, therefore, of the magic sponge. It's quite tense, isn't it? Tense
A little
atmosphere
bit.
now. Tense.
I think
I'm feeling a bit tense.
it's bleeding into the game. I mean, you can see there is a real. I mean, when numbers get forward in the first half, there'd be people charging forward. You're not really seeing that in the second one. You've got maybe 5 minutes of regular time, a little bit of added time added on. I think you're right. I think the next goal will sneak this win. It's just a case of who can take that, whether it's City on the break or Brentford building patiently. But it's going to be one of the two.
Just need to get Hardy involved. Zamburek has rushed a couple down that channel, and that's a slack one. And the two wing backs, De Silva and Brissett, haven't caused as much damage as certainly Calder Silva did first half. That's a silly foul to give away.
I think we saw it in the cup final here against Harrow. Joe was a little bit quiet, couldn't really get into the game, and then suddenly saw a chance and took it. So I think that'll be how Joe might get into this game. He's certainly one who will just finish anything that's put in front of him. So
Poacher.
a real poacher, yeah, that's exactly what you describe him as.
Good. I'm glad they're well, not so much a cliche perhaps as shorthand.
Yeah.
A bit of an awkward yeah. For Pat Gunnarsson, and it's just getting a little bit ragged for Lars Fries's boys. The clock shows 87, 2-2. Allowed to gamble through quite comfortably, Taylor Richards there, and in the end it was a tame effort.
I think Gunnarsson was lucky that was quite low and as you say, tame. I think he wasn't prepared there. He couldn't really see past Jayden Onan. If he'd have struck that high, I'm not sure he'd have got there.
He'd certainly come out a long way to narrow the angle, he said, making it look as though he knows about goalkeeping by using the only thing that they ever used to say in the 70s at school, and that. But yeah, there's been a couple of let-offs this half.
I think we saw it in the first half. I think the first half was a case of if Brentford make a mistake, City will score. I think this one's definitely a case that if City will have to make the mistake for Brentford to score, but certainly look more likely as this time literally ticks away in front of us.
Time is literally ticking away, rather than metaphorically ticking away.
Staring over at the clock, that's what I meant.
Hull City again. Just wondered if he was going to be a bit positive there, Bernabei. Great run into the box inside left channel. Tried to control it. Again, fortunate because the turn and volley, and that's in the B of the end. Frimpong spent a long time in Brentford's half this half. Oh, lovely turn by the very impressive Taylor Richards. Coote just gets something on it. Brentford are undone here. And that was flying from Simmons. Slow it up a little bit. Matti Machka. Good shift from Jan. Scored a goal. Good one it was. Also, of course, you'll note, I think this is why they are bringing in that law change, because if a player is pressurised like that and has to wait for the ball to come out of the box, he's going to get caught in possession. So he takes possession of the ball inside the 18-yard box, and rather than giving an indirect free kick, oh, I love an indirect free kick inside the 18-yard box. You don't see them these days. The referee just pulls it up and says, take it again. So, yeah, it's whoever's idea that was to change the law for next season, I take my hat off to them. I applaud them gently. 4 minutes at the discretion of the referee. Should be comfortable for David Titoff. Oxenen. Dink over the top, looking for the run of Henrik Johansson.
He's done well.
And he's beaten his man. He's got 2 for company. Here is Joe Hardy. Straight into the midriff of the City man. There's a break on here. Very important challenge from Johnny Mitchell.
Superb challenge.
The Scott down lickety split. Oh, and then it's wasted. 4 against 4. And there's an overload here with the fullback Frimpong. Desperate shouts from the Brentford bench. Someone gets something on it. But it's still not clear. Brentford are getting deeper and deeper. Comfortable for Ogbeta to get involved. Oh, side netting. Not got their shooting boots on, fortunately.
No, as you said earlier, I think Gunnarsson's getting a little bit lucky that he's not having to face too much. That one from the right-hand side that's just gone over the apex. That one just there on the left that's just been drawn a little bit far of the left-hand post. Both hit the side netting. A few of those are on target, and they're giving him some real problems.
It's 5 yards in front of Ogbeta when he received it inside left there. Free roll for Bernabei. That's caused some problems. He had a decent chance a couple of minutes ago. Not a huge amount for Tom Scott still. I can't remember a Brentford corner this half. Here's Joe Hardy trying to improvise one into the path of Cole da Silva. Doesn't come off. Oh, clever. Taken 3 out there, Richards. Here comes Frimpong. He's got 3 to hit. Goes early. Johnny Mitchell gets in the way. Unfortunately, that's a silly foul from Taylor Richards.
I mean, he's been massively impressive this evening. If you're going to pick out a player on both sides, Taylor Richards has absolutely run this show from start to finish.
They've moved him slightly inside, haven't they, in this half?
He's playing inside the 2 subs.
Yeah, good ball for Calder Silva from Pat Gunnarsson. Just bounced. That was that second bounce that took it away from him. But some respite for the Brentford back line to pin Man City back, perhaps for a couple of minutes. But yeah, as you said, you know, you're looking for a Man City mistake at the back, and there's not been one really. Oh, there you go, there's one. Oxen and De Silva. Oh, heavy touch lets him down, and Frimpong can rob him, and the attack breaks down.
Unlucky, because that was a fantastic ball from Yaka. Just found him exactly where he needed him, and then his touch let him down.
Tired touch. Oof. Perhaps. Titov lucky to get away with that, really. Went flying in. Spencer Keller getting involved down this right-hand side. And Frimpong getting forward as it overloaded the right for City. Some space at left half. And he's got some pace as Ogbeta. It's a bit of a scuffer. Unfortunate to get away with that, but again put himself in the right place at the right time. Jayden Onan playing in the centre of those 3. A couple of really important interceptions around the penalty spot for him in this second half. Calder Silva now a little bit further forward. Oh, he's fast but not that fast, and the ball trundles out of play. Couple of minutes to go.
That's unlucky as well. The way Patrick Gunnarsson's found Matti Mashko with that ball is fantastic, because you know he's not the most imposing of characters. He's nodded it on, and it's a little bit unlucky that Calder Silva's taken a heavy touch again.
Ali Coote just... Oh, that is the final whistle. Brentford 2, Manchester City under 18s 2, Calder Silva. With a delightful free kick. Gave Brentford the lead after 4 minutes, equalised by Taylor Richards, arguably the man of the match. And Jan Zamburek with the 42nd minute goal, which saw Brentford go in at half-time 2-1 up. Swiftly equalised by Tommy Doyle, breaking the offside trap after 46 minutes. And then really after that, Chris Deacon, it was Manchester City pressure.
Yeah, and I think in a way Brentford done well to hold off there. They were a little bit stuck in second gear after that goal that almost took them by surprise at the start of the second half. And as you said before, City have so many different more gears to find, so they were travelling on, and a few let-offs for Patrick Gunnarson, but you know, a few good saves here and there as well. So overall, I'd say there's a pretty even result in the end.
Off to the Etihad campus next. Have you been there before, Chris Deacon?
I have certainly, and we've been there a few times. It's one of those places I think last season we played the same sort of games. You played City, I think, away first, and then City here at Griffin Park almost a year ago to this day. And we lost that one, so it's in a way you've made a positive impact. Yeah.
Be a tougher test under 23s as opposed to under 18s.
Yeah, tougher test. There's a few players out there that play for the 23s or the elite development squad, as they call it. Taylor Richards,
elite development squad.
Taylor Richards is actually one of them, so it'd be interesting to see if we see him again next week. But yeah, we'll have full coverage of that. We'll have Twitter coverage and hopefully try and get some live coverage, but we'll update you as and when. But I'm sure that'll be a huge test for some of the lads in our squad.
Thanks, Chris Deacon. My name's Billy Reid. It's been nice to be able to come down and speak to you, and also good to be able to come down and say goodbye to Lars Friis. Jarvis Idabor, I don't think, will be making the first 11 on Saturday. Is it Saturday?
Yes,
Saturday as he limps off. But a most entertaining game. Thanks to the video department, Marcus and James, for camera manipulating and plugging everything in for us. See you around. Ta-ta.